Commander Zexithara clicked her mandibles in satisfaction as she watched the final preparations through the observation deck's reinforced transparasteel. Below, in the vast training chamber, 37 cadets from 17 different species stood in formation, their various forms of military dress creating a rainbow of galactic unity. Today would be their final test before graduation from the Intergalactic Defense Academy. The Vraxian commander's 4 eyes focused on the lone human among the group. Cadet Sarah Chen stood at regulation attention, her small bipedal frame dwarfed by the towering Korthak warriors beside her and the crystalline Zelthrians that sparkled in the artificial sunlight. Humans had only joined the Galactic Coalition 3 cycles ago, and this was the first to make it through the grueling academy training. "Are you certain about this test, Commander?" asked Lieutenant Korth, his tentacles writhing nervously. "The nightmare of Proxima 7 has never been used in training exercises, only in actual warfare." Zexithara's mandibles clicked again, this time in amusement. "The Coalition needs to know what these humans are truly capable of. Reports from their homeworld speak of creatures they call pets. Apparently they domesticate other species for companionship. Such behavior is unprecedented." She gestured with one of her 6 arms toward the holding chamber adjacent to the training area. Inside, something massive shifted in the shadows, its breathing creating small tremors in the deck plating. "The nightmare has broken the will of seasoned warriors. If the human can face it without fleeing, perhaps their species truly belongs among us." The exercise began simply enough. The cadets were told they would face an unexpected threat and must demonstrate tactical thinking under pressure. Standard procedure dictated forming defensive positions and coordinating their various species' strengths: Korthak physical power, Zelthrian energy manipulation, Vraxian tactical analysis, and so forth. None of them expected the massive blast. Doors to Iris open with a thunderous grinding of metal. What emerged defied description in any single language. The nightmare of Proxima 7 stood 4 meters tall at its shoulder, its obsidian carapace gleaming with an oily iridescence. 6 legs, each ending in claws capable of rending starship hull plating, carried its massive bulk with surprising grace. Its head was a horror of evolutionary perfection: 3 rows of crystalline teeth, sensor organs that could detect fear pheromones from across a star system, and bioluminescent patches that pulsed hypnotically to disorient prey. The cadets' formation shattered instantly. Korthak warriors, bred for battle across 1,000 generations, stumbled backward with guttural cries of terror. Zelthrians flickered between visible and energy states in panic. The serpentine Voss coiled into defensive balls, while the aquatic Morgan released clouds of distress ink that served no purpose in the dry training chamber, all except the human. Sarah Chen took 3 steps forward. "Oh my God," she whispered, and Zexithara's translation implants struggled with the emotional complexity of the human expression. "You're beautiful." The nightmare's massive head swiveled toward her, sensor organs dilating as they analyzed this strange, small creature that showed no fear. Its bioluminescent patches pulsed faster, cycling through colors that had driven strong warriors to madness. Sarah smiled and slowly extended her hand. "Hey there, big guy," she said softly. "I bet nobody ever tells you how magnificent you are, do they?" In the observation deck, Lieutenant Korth's tentacles went rigid with shock. "Commander, she's approaching it voluntarily. Should we intervene?" Zexithara found herself leaning forward, all 4 eyes fixed on the impossible scene below. "Wait!" The nightmare lowered its massive head, bringing its array of sensory organs closer to the small human. Sarah remained perfectly still, letting it examine her. When it finished, she slowly reached up and placed her palm against the creature's carapace just below what might charitably be called a chin. "You're just scared, aren't you?" she murmured. "All alone in that dark cell. I bet you haven't had anyone be nice to you in a very long time." The creature that had terrorized 3 star systems made a sound no coalition linguist had ever catalogued. A deep, rumbling purr that seemed to emanate from its entire massive frame. Sarah began to gently stroke the creature's head, her movements practiced and confident. "My family had dogs back on Earth, big dogs. Everyone thought they were scary too, but they just needed someone to understand them. She looked up into the nightmare's cluster of eyes. "You're not a monster, are you? You're just a very large, very lonely animal that nobody's ever tried to be friends with." The nightmare, though that name seemed increasingly inappropriate, lowered itself to the ground, bringing its head level with Sarah's torso. She continued her gentle ministrations, and the purring grew louder. Behind her, the other cadets slowly began to emerge from their panic-induced positions. They stared in wonder as their human classmate appeared to conduct some form of xenobiological diplomacy through the simple expedient of ear scratches. "In my culture," Sarah said, though her voice was loud enough to carry to the observation deck, "we have a saying. There are no bad dogs, only bad owners." She looked directly up at the observation windows, somehow knowing she was being watched. "I'm guessing nobody ever tried just being nice to him." Commander Zexithara felt something unprecedented happening in her thoracic cavity, a sensation her species had no word for, but humans might have called humility. She activated the communication system. "Cadet Chen, report to my office immediately following this exercise." Sarah gave the creature one final pat and stepped back. It raised its massive head and watched her with what could only be described as affection before padding docilely back toward its holding chamber. "Yes, ma'am," Sarah replied. Then, quietly, so only the creature could hear, "I'll come visit you later, okay? Nobody should have to be alone." As the blast doors sealed shut, Zexithara turned to Lieutenant Korth. "Cancel the creature's return to Proxima 7 and prepare a xenobiology lab. It seems we have much to learn about both humans and the creatures we've labeled as monsters." She watched as Sarah helped her fellow cadets to their feet, offering comfort to those still shaking from their encounter. Perhaps the Coalition's newest members would teach them more than just military tactics. Perhaps they would teach them something far more valuable: the radical notion that understanding and kindness could be weapons more powerful than any in their arsenal. The human had done something no warrior in Coalition history had ever accomplished. She had made friends with their ultimate weapon of fear. And in doing so, she had shown them what humanity truly brought to the galaxy: the audacious belief that anything could be redeemed with enough patience and love. Commander Zexithara clicked her mandibles one final time, but now the sound carried a note of respect. The humans, she realized, might just change everything.